Hey everyone, it's Maribel Blue with a new Maribel Blue Unfiltered, and today we are going to be talking about the real housewives of Beverly Hills. And I only want to talk about a certain part that has been going on with Erika Girardi and the rest of the women that are on this show. Now, I had banned myself from watching last season, but I was recording it. So I kind of cheated and I started watching it because my curiosity, of course, got the best of me with what was going on with Denise. I never finished watching the whole entire season because it just became like irrelevant after a while. But the things that continue on is how phony most of these women are. I don't know if it has to do with money. I don't know if money makes you phony. I have no idea whatsoever. But I did take notes that I will be referring to today. So, one of the parts that I want to talk about on this particular episode was episode 13 when everybody got together and Sutton was expressing her thoughts on aligning herself with Erica and how that could affect her reputation, so to speak. Now, of course, when all of them got together, at some point they all began basically preaching to the choir. They all sounded the same. Of course, Dorit was right there behind Sutton because Dorit had her own legal issues, if we all recall, not too long ago. And while that may have been resolved, I think about it in this aspect. And I know I'm jumping because I really wanted to say this at the end, but think about like what happened with Dorit and her whole legal issues, like I was saying before. And then she has Erica as a friend who is also having her own legal issues, which to me is a lot uglier than what Dorit was going through with her shit with PK. I can't even remember what it is. It's not important. The important thing is that Erica is involved in a mega lawsuit. Her husband is being sued because apparently he embezzled money that was for these fire victims or these burn victims, and I guess basically he used the money for himself. Now, of course, for a lawyer, that is completely unethical because if you're standing up for your clients, how could you be so greedy and help yourself to that money that was supposed to help them? Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen because it does. As most of you know, I was fortunate to work for two of the biggest law firms in my career. So I got to know many of attorneys, and some of them didn't make smart decisions, but that was more on a relationship level than any other unethical thing that you want to think about as far as like embezzling money is concerned. Sorry, do attorneys do it for whatever reason? Yeah, you just never know what's going on with them financially, or even if they're in a good place financially, to see that kind of money coming in and feel like, well, if I took a bigger cut than I initiated, will anybody notice? And I have seen a lot of things in the day that have happened to people who got their JD and then throw that shit out the window for money and then lose everything. It's like, how do you throw away 8 years of education? I'm not like Sutton. I didn't read the whole entire LA Times article to its fullest. I did read some of it. So, of course, everything now is called to question. And this is exactly what I wanted to talk about. So, here I said Sutton made comments about her concern. And then Lisa Renna chimes in. Lisa Renna, she's a piece of cake. Let me tell you something. Girl, keep that same hairstyle that you've been sporting since the 80s or whenever. So Lisa goes and asks, well, how is this going to affect her? Now, in this case, okay, I look at Sutton and her surroundings and who she's connected with. Like she said, she works for all of these different charitable organizations. I'm sure she's aligned with probably some of the richest people that can question. You have this person as your friend, okay? And don't think that in the rich world that there's not going to be like classes of rich and how you got your money, whether you were born into it, whether you acquired it from your business or you inherited it. Like there's all different levels of rich. Clearly, Kyle got hers from marrying Mauricio and going through whatever it is that they went through and opening up the agency, etc. Because I don't think that Kyle was born rich or any of her family. Kathy Hilton, her sister, she's married to a rich man and they have all of these hotels, and hence that's how she got her richness. Kim, I could give a fuck less about because I'm not a fan of hers anyway. I'm not a fan of anybody who lies about being clean when they're not. That's because I have 30 years clean. So I have zero respect for her whatsoever. But I digress as usual. In the case of Lisa Renna, okay, I don't believe that Lisa Renna was born rich, but she's a hustler, as she says. So, you being the hustler, Lisa Renna, couldn't you understand where this woman is coming from in the sense of why she may not want to align herself, why she contacted an attorney to get legal advice? I would be doing the same thing because there is that fine line when it comes to friendship. And then when it comes to, oh shit, my friend is in big trouble. So it's just kind of like, no, not like big trouble that she slapped somebody in the street, like big trouble and something that could be in court for years. And there's this one attorney, I forget his name, but he is, I'm sure he has watched every episode by now of The Real Housewives when Erica first walked in the door to monitor and use everything that she had said against her. Now, I don't know if that's possible, but let me tell you something. In this world today, people can take a clip of something that you said and turn it around into something horrible without having the whole conversation or the whole piece of video, whatever the situation may be. People will cut things to make it seem like you're an asshole. Now, I am on TikTok more than any other social media. It's like Instagram has become secondary, literally. So I see things that people are doing. If it's a anti-vaxxer, if it's a person who is doing stupid things, they get found out. People are losing their jobs left and right because you want to cough on people and do stupid shit and then turn around and say, I'm a victim. And we've seen the whole video. So a lot of people are not victims. But trust when I tell you that they can take pieces of conversations and make it seem like you're messed up. So when all of this conversation is going on, and Lisa Renna is, even though she's nodding her head in agreement, she's still there for Erica. Because remember, she is Erica's number one cheerleader. She has been kissing Erica's ass from the minute Erica walked onto that set, or not a set, but walked onto that show and made herself known for who she is. Now, here's my other thing that Sutton makes this point about how did Erica not know that that $20 million that was going into her LLC didn't come from that? Let me just tell you, okay? I'm not rich, but I do have an LLC. And if somebody came to me and wrote me a $20 million check and said, here, put this into your LLC. Believe me when I tell you, and I don't know if it's like my New York instinct, Bronx attitude, or whatever it is that you want to call it. I want to know where that money came from because you are not going to write a check to me for $20 million, and I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm just going to put it in here. No, I want to know where that money came from. I want to know if that money is clean. And I want to make sure that you're not taking that money to hide it from something else. I'm not the one. When Erica was at that dinner table, when they all confronted her, like what is it, the next episode or the next day, but when they were having the Christmas dinner at Kyle's house, and she was there, with that very demure hairstyle, the little headband, and she's just sitting there looking at everybody like, I'm sorry, I like Erica, but I was not buying it, not at all. I wrote in my last blog on Maribel Blue Unfiltered how I'm sure a lot of these shows that she was doing, wherever it was that she was doing it at, I'm sure that she was paying for everything. So think about where that $20 million went. It went to her dancers, this glam squad that she has, paying for the venue. Because you're going to tell me that last venue that she played at, that broken down venue before she was playing in Chicago, that they were paying her to be there? No. I born I am, I should say, I am born and bred in New York. Okay? I have supported different people who have done shows independently, and how they get paid, sometimes they don't. They either share the cost at the door, they either share the cost at the bar with a bar guarantee, whatever it is that they work out with that venue. But trust when I tell you, there is no owner at a venue who's paying some performer who is doing this just to get by, to have that creative freedom outlet. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this to chastise anybody because I supported a lot of different bands. But the thing is, it's like a lot of these venues, they're not going to pay people to perform. That's basically up to the person who's hosting the event. And given that I'm sure Erica was hosting the event, she had to pay for this stuff out of pocket herself. So at least we know where some of that $20 million went to. That's a lot of money, okay? And I don't know how much Tom has made over the course of his lifetime of being an attorney. Maybe I should ask some of my attorney friends that I'm still friends with to this day and say, hey, like, do you know an attorney that can make that kind of money maybe within a 3 year span? I don't know. I can't see it happening in a year because that's what I'm saying. It's a lot of money unless they are involved in some major lawsuit. So when she sat there and she was really being demure and looking at these women like, you bitches, you're supposed to be my friend. Look at the way you're treating me. Look at the way you're talking to me. And you're talking about me behind my back because you're having meetings. Dorit, who was like number two advocate, it's not okay. I'm not okay with it, with her fake accent. I'm not okay with it, it's disgusting, and all of this stuff. And she had spoken to PK about it. And let me tell you something, whether she wants to admit it or not, I know that her and PK spoke to an attorney. They were probably on the phone that day when they saw the news that came out in the LA Times. Okay. You're going to tell me that all of these women who have money up the wazoo, who can go into a store and see a ring, oh, that's $275,000. Oh, what a great price. I'll take it. Come on. You're going to tell me that they're not talking to attorneys to find out how they could not get in trouble being her friend? They want to be her friend. I get it. But at the same time, they're not stupid. And anybody watching this show who's thinking, oh my God, poor Erica, and nobody wants to be her friend. Believe me, if you were in the same position, you'd be talking to your attorney too, because you would want no part of that shit. You would be like, I'm not the one. Okay? You would be. what I put in my notes. Dorit says she doesn't want her support for Erica to be misconstrued as advocating the theft. Okay, yes, that's right. And I understand that point. But of course, the day of Kyle's dinner, I'm your friend. Don't worry. I have your back. And then Garcelle called her, but that's not what you said the other day. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I have my feet up on this thing and it makes like some weird noises. But Garcelle, I love her because she does not hold back. She speaks her mind. She says what she has to say. And here's the thing, she's friends with Erica, but she's also friends with Sutton. She doesn't seem to be a fan of Dory. She's on the outs with Lisa because Lisa basically kicked Denise to the curb last season, because of whatever shit that happened. And Lisa's talking about, but you have to own it. You have to own it. I don't understand these women. I really don't. And this whole own it thing, Lisa doesn't own anything other than she is very good at hustling. I will give her that. She will be into anything that will make her money. But she is also a very good ass kisser, because that, to her, in her mindset, that's what gets her places, in order to kiss the right ass so that she can move up in the world. And people do that. So Erica has given everybody this timeline of how things happened, or how things began to go downhill as of 3 years ago. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, we as women, when we have a partner and we've been with him for X amount of time, okay, Erica was with Tom for 20 something years. You're going to tell me that it was only up to 3 years ago that you noticed a change. He had a car accident, he hit his head, and then things went downhill from there. But prior to 3 years ago, you had looked at his phone one day and saw like pictures of other women or what have you, and you found out that he was cheating on you. So, could it have been more than 3 years? I mean, I'm just saying. And then Lisa goes on to say that she believes that Erica is telling the truth, that she honestly does not know where that money came from, what Tom did with the rest of the money. And you know what? Maybe Erica doesn't really know everything. She must know something, because you're going to tell me that you've been living in this glamorous mansion. You didn't have to clean, because you see her now, she's cleaning, she has her own house or what have you. And you didn't know anything that was going on. You didn't hear anything, like people didn't call you. They didn't have suspicions or anything like that. I beg to differ. There is no way in hell. Because let me tell you something. Like I said before, I worked for attorneys. The last law firm I worked for 8 attorneys. 2 of them were partners. Trust when I tell you, those wives called a minimum 5 times a day. They were on their husbands like white on rice, literally. And we had caller ID, so I already knew who was calling. I would be already waving, hey, your wife's on the phone. That was the way it was. So, then it would beg the question, what kind of relationship did Erica have with her husband? Was it the kind of relationship where there was an agreement that she would be like his personal Barbie? Was it a real love because he took her and her son in? And we all know how like sensitive she is to that situation. So for me, for Erica not to know everything, I just find that hard to believe. For Lisa to think that Erica is fully telling the truth, that is just Lisa covering up her butt. That's it. Nothing more. Because remember, I think that deep down inside, Lisa Renna wants to be that Erika Jane character that Erika created for herself. She wants it so bad. That's why she's changing her hair and putting on these ridiculous wigs and buying these outfits and shoes and what have you. And the thing is like there's nothing aesthetically wrong with her. She's fine the way she is. She has a signature look and she should just not mess with it. I mean, that's like Madonna used to have a signature look. Now, okay, I'm not even going to talk about that. But the other thing that I had wanted to mention, okay, so one of the things that Sutton had said at their gathering, and I quote, I don't think that ignorance is an excuse when she is so smart. Those are some powerful ass words. They really are. Because think about it. Erica is not dumb, okay? She knew what kind of money Tom had in his pocket, whether it was love, whether it was convenience, whatever it was. She knew that hooking up with this man, she was going to have a really good life. And she did, okay? Up until this point with all of this shit that's going on because now she has to get her own attorney and we all know how expensive attorneys can be, especially if you want a good one. And this is my whole thing. The legal world is a very small world and people know one another and people talk to one another. And for me to think that Erica didn't hear or know something, or that somebody didn't call her and say, listen, you may want to start thinking about getting out of this now because something serious is going on and you can be implicated in this. Now, as far as I know, when she said that she was preparing to leave Tom, okay, because apparently, or it looked like she had been working on this for a while. She had been probably looking for a place. She was selling her stuff. She was basically liquidating everything so that she can get her own place and continue to live somewhat of a rich lifestyle. And she said she drove Tom to work and kissed him goodbye. And then she came back to the house and packed up all her shit and left. Okay. Now, yeah, that would make me think either A, that she had been plotting this all along to leave because she knew something, or B, I think, like Sutton had mentioned, that he probably told her shit is going to hit the fan. So you should leave. So you're not implicated in this. Whatever the case is, it's not a good one. And it's an ugly look for everybody involved. Personally, for me, I hope that Erica finds a way out of this because I like her. I like where she comes from. But at the same time, I feel like she is broken somewhere. And she puts on this facade and this persona because we've all seen her be that angry and and telling Sudden, I mean, that growl, all right. I mean, she was basically ready to bite her neck like a freaking vampire. That's how angry she was at her at that moment. And I think this is just my own personal opinion again. I think that when Erica gets angry like that, it's some kind of an unresolved issue that has been recurring in her life over the years. Something that she just, I don't know what that something is, but that's the vibe that I get. Because it's just like, why is it that 1 minute you're okay and the next minute you just explode on somebody? That's not normal. I don't think that I would keep a friend that long if, like, one day we're like, oh, yeah, we're good. And then the next minute you're ready to slap me in my face. No. And the other thing is for her to be upset that they sought legal advice, because when she had asked everybody, well, did you, and everybody stood silent. Like I said before, they all did. They all contacted attorneys. And even Kyle had mentioned that Mauricio had said she may have not known what was going on. But the fact still remains, you can't be in a relationship with somebody for 20 plus years and not know anything, or not have somebody contact you and say, something is going on that doesn't seem right. I like you, and I'm telling you this so that you can watch your back. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I just wanted to share my 2 cents on this whole situation and what I think Erica knows and does not know. And we'll see what happens. I think I have one more episode. No, I think I'm all caught up, as a matter of fact. And of course, I will be doing the wrap up of the Shaws of Sunset, because I did get to watch it and I have so much to say about that. We definitely have to talk about Reza and all of the drama with everybody else. And of course, Mike. Mike, why don't you just explore another opportunity? Like, maybe find a relationship where you could be like in an open relationship, because this man does not know how to keep his duel in his own pants and have it with another woman. He has to share. Ugh. Well, anyway, this is Maribel Lou signing off. And as always, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and most importantly, take care of you. Bye, everybody.